Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Scabbard. Boy, it's been a 48 hours for anyone who is a fan of the Buffalo sports teams. Been a very bad 48 hours. First, Thursday, Friday night was a stirring win in coming back and beating Pittsburgh 3-2. But Saturday night, all the good feelings that came from that game were just wiped away as the Sabers got drubbed 7-2. It really was never a game, even though the Sabres did click twice in the power play. Um, and we'll get into the all the nastiness of what happened there. Of course, yesterday with the Bills falling in overtime to the Eagles and the refs, it was not a good weekend for Buffalo Sabres or Buffalo sports fans in general. So. Um, Feel free to drop a like or share. Give us a like, share, and subscribe if you're watching us wherever you're watching us from. Also, if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. I will be happy to address them during the show, and we'll get that fired up right here as we get into the main part of the show. Um, stat of the night for the last game has to be this one: 12 shots on goal for the entire game. Um, uh, New Jersey had like 6 more than that in their first period by themselves. Um, was just an absolutely, horrid night for the Sabres. You had the Kulik and Roseanne debut. It was a mixed debut. Roseanne was -2 on 14 plus minutes, while Kulik was -1 with a shot on goal in 13 minutes. Um I will say that the 2 goals that, well, the goals that Roseanne and Kulik were on were not a result of their poor play. It was, other guys like Casey Middlestat, Connor Clifton, who was a -4, just, and getting chased all over the ice by the Devils trying to get revenge for the hit on Nico Hischier. Um, the Sabres played scared the entire night. Um so let's go to that game review. They weren't ready coming out of the gate. And we can lay that down at the foot of Granato's choice to play the 11-7 the previous 2 games, especially the night before in Pittsburgh. Halfway through the game, Zemgus Girgensons gets injured, so it ends up being a 10-7 imbalance on the forwards and defensemen. Um, and some of those high end forwards for the Sabres were, and they played well in that third period with the extra ice time, but it also meant the next night they had nothing left in the tank. And it was pretty clear the first lines just had nothing. First 2 lines had nothing to contribute to the game. Um, plus getting, losing Girgensons and, I know a lot of people are not big fans of Zemgus Girgensons. Girgensons has his role on this team, and I think he plays the role really well. Um, not everybody on the team needs to be a 50 goal scorer. I mean, it'd be great, but there's just not enough pucks on the ice. Um, you know, uh, you need to have the line that can shut down and play the defense and give some energy. And I think his line with Poso and Krebs does that. The Krebs line did that to a great extent in that Pittsburgh game. They just again overuse in the game before they had nothing left. So, it was one of the worst games we had since that March swoon. I would say, you could point to maybe the Dallas game where they lost 10-4, um, where Comrie was in for all 10 goals. Comrie was in for the first 4 goals, and he got pulled. Um, and Levi came in for the final 2 periods and gave up 3 goals. Um, I would not blame the goalies on any one of the really any of those goals. Um, do I think they could have made some of those saves? Sure, but I mean, you've got guys skating in free into the slot for open shots. I mean, there was nothing that again. You just can't really blame the goaltenders on it. It was an off night for everybody in the lineup, and sometimes you have that. And this, as much as inconsistent as the Sabres have been, and we can talk about their inconsistency. They're consistently inconsistent. as I term them. Um, yeah, it's not unheard of. I mean, Colorado's lost a massive game, um, like 8-2 and 7-0 and things like that. So, even good teams go through it, but when you're competing for a playoff spot that you haven't had in 12 years, can't have too many of these nights. And this was an unforced error that came from the decision to go 11-7 on Friday night, being forced down to 10-7. And, we paid for it on the Devils' home ice. And the Devils, to their credit, they had been going through a rough patch themselves. And they finally got everyone healthy, everyone back in the lineup except for Timo Meyer. Um, and they had some revenge to get on the Buffalo Sabres because their swoon really started when Connor Clifton hit Nico Hischier and caused that hole in their lineup. And they've been playing poorly. Played better on that game against Columbus that they lost 2-1. But like I talked about before, there are times when you have a really bad game, or you're going through a bad stretch and you play a really good game that you don't win, and it's the switch over. You've gone through the rough patch. Now you're going to start playing better hockey, um, and that's what we saw. They played a game that they should have won against Columbus, didn't win the game, and then they took that out on Buffalo. Um, the problem for Buffalo is it doesn't get any easier. This is a rough week. They go tonight to the New York Rangers. They play on Thursday night uh, in St. Louis, so they're traveling to St. Louis. Game in the Central Time Zone, and then they travel to Carolina, they've never really played well in Carolina, and their first home game back is the next day playing against the Nashville Predators, who are playing better hockey now. So this schedule does not get easier for them, and they need to find some kind of consistency in their game. And yeah, you can point to Tage Thompson being injured and Jack Quinn not being in the lineup. Um, First off, the Sabres were inconsistent with Tage Thompson in the lineup, so I don't know that getting Tage Thompson back will be the panacea that some people think it is. Plus, as a guy who has a massive shot dealing with a wrist injury, he may not be 100% coming back immediately. And then Jack Quinn, you know, good player. I don't know that we're going to get a whole ton more out of him than what we're getting right now. Um, yeah, he was scheduled to take the next step, but that's assuming that he would have stayed healthy all summer and developed over the summer as well. He did not. He got injured right around the draft, and we won't see him until probably just before the new year. Um, but yeah, there are changes afoot. I just saw the news flash before me before I got on the show that Minnesota has fired their head coach Dean Evison and their assistant coach um, for poor performance. This is a team that has expectations and has performed poorly out of the gate. Let me take a look at what their record is. And the Sabres did manage to get a victory off of them. I mean, they're in a worse position than Buffalo. They're 5-10-4. But when a team that has expectations begins to swoon, you gotta ask, how safe are the coaches? And I know a lot of people, at least in the fan community, you got a split of it's not Granato's fault versus fire Granato. The thing I ask for people who are saying fire Granato is who do you bring in? Because I've got to assume that Minnesota is probably going to bring in one of either Bruce Boudreau, um, or Gerard Gallant. I don't think that we're going to see Mike Babcock again in the NHL. I think that ship sailed, particularly with what went down this summer. Although I think you get kind of a raw deal with what went down this summer. I think it got blown out of proportion. But who do you bring in if you're in that camp of fire Don Granato? Who do we bring in? Um, you know, is it a you just want a warm body behind the bench and changed voice? I mean, you can do that pretty much with anybody. Um, but outside of Boudreaux and Gallant, who both have their issues, like Boudreaux's great regular season coach, gets a team in the playoffs and they lose in the first round. Gallant has had some pretty good runs with teams. Did get upset in the first round last year and lost his job, but he also gets fired under some really weird circumstances. He got his firing in Florida. Basically left the team plane left him. I think it was in Vegas that he got left. Um, then he was in Vegas in the middle of the season, and yeah, the Golden Knights were underperforming to a bit, but gets fired mid-season after taking the team to the Stanley Cup. Um, I mean, there are a couple of different things that yeah, we're gonna get if you fire Granado, you're gonna get a new coach, but what are we gonna get in exchange for that? Hopefully the playoffs, hopefully a coach that would take the team to the next level. Um, Jury's still out on whether Granado could do that, take the team from being a development coach to being a contending hockey team coach. But yeah, you got to answer that question. Who do you bring in? All right, so tonight's game is against the New York Rangers. It does not get any easier. The Rangers are 15-3-1, best record in the NHL by points percentage. Um, they have the same number of points as the Boston Bruins, but have played one fewer game. That's why they are first in the NHL, um, including a 5-1 win over Buffalo on opening night. We all remember that. Chris Kreider leads in goals. Artemi Panarin leads in assists and points. Igor Shesterkin, oddly enough, he's 8-3 on the season, 922 save percentage, and 2.45 goals against average. Is the worst goaltender on the New York Rangers right now, at least by numbers, raw numbers. I mean, he's a phenomenal goaltender, and those aren't bad numbers for any goaltender on your staff. But yeah, Jonathan Quick is 6-0 or 6-0-1 on the season, and let's see. Louis Domingue came in for a game and shut down the opponent that he played. Only allowed a goal, 962 save percentage for him. But yeah, the Rangers are doing really well when it comes to goaltending. Their special teams is amazing. They're not a tremendous team 5-on-5. They do struggle 5-on-5, um, but they play an up-tempo style, same as what New Jersey gave us, which worries the hell out of me because we didn't respond to it well on Saturday night, um, and can draw penalties. Now, the Sabres have been really good about at least relatively good about discipline, not taking a whole ton of dumb penalties. Um, but you gotta stay out of the box with these guys. And, almost not taking penalty or having them take penalties either because 'cause they're pretty deadly, shorthanded. So, the longer we can keep them 5 on 5, I think the better chance that we have. The Rangers forward projected lines tonight: Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, Blake Wheeler, Artemi Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere on the second line. Kyle, Cooley, I can't remember exactly how that was pronounced. I think it's Cooley, Bonino, and Kako on that third line, and Jimmy VC, former Saber alert, with Barclay Goodrow and Lance Pitlick. The defensive pairings, we've got Keandre Miller and Jacob Truba, who should be suspended. We'll get into that moment. He should not be playing tonight. Lindgren and Gustafson, who's taken over for Adam Fox on the blue line on that power play and played really well, along with Jones and Schneider's in that third pair. I believe we're getting Jonathan Quick tonight as the goaltender, which is not good news because he's undefeated on the season, 6-0-1. Um, but I think it doesn't matter who you get. Even Louis Domingue would be at an advantage here. The scratches for the Rangers, Adam Fox is on IR as well as Philip Hedel. Um, so a couple of key cogs, but they've had young guys step into the lineup and fill those places. Cooley and um, uh, Gustafson have really stepped up for the Rangers. Buffalo Sabres projected lines, they're gonna have their hands full. There's not a whole lot of change from the New Jersey game, which, I don't know what to think about that. Jeff Skinner with Middlestat and Tuck, Zach Benson with Cousins and Paterka, Isaac Roseanne, with Jost and Olafson, and Kulik, with Krebs and Okposo on that 4th line. Um, I still would get, Kulik on the same line with Roseanne, but, um it's hard to put, 2 rookies together on a line that, in their 2nd game against, the top team in the NHL, so, um, the, Sabres defensive pairings tonight, we have, Dahlin with Samuelson, who is a game time, decision. He had an upper body injury, missed, most of the New Jersey game. Did look good on ice according to, Granato, but, yeah, game time decision for him. Hiroyuki Haru will draw back in. We're just not sure where at this point. I'm not sure if Ryan Johnson gets pulled or Connor Clifton, who was a -4 and is really not. He throws the body around. I'll say that he throws the body around, but he has not kept the puck out of his own net this season. So, but Henry Haru will play. It's just not sure where he's going to draw into the lineup. If Samuelson can't go, Yokiharu will be there. If it's not Samuelson, it's going to be another one of the bottom 4. So definitely not Owen Power. Um, Probably not Eric Johnson. And I think the only reason you would keep Clifton in is because of the PK. But yeah, I mean he's just not been real good since he's come over. Just having a tough time adjusting to the Sabres. So in net for the Sabres, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, coming off that 31 save performance against the Pittsburgh Penguins, gets the net. Believe Devin Levi is the backup tonight. Could be wrong. Levi was the backup the other night, did get in 2 periods of hockey. Um, but I think it is Devin Levi as the backup. So that means Eric Comrie is a healthy scratch, along with Tage Thompson being on the IR, Jacob Bryson still being a healthy scratch. I mean, if you're going to keep him on the healthy scratch for that long, send him down. Like he's going to be no good once we, if we get to a position where we need him. Um, I'm just not sure you keep a guy healthy scratch that long into the season. And then, of course, Jack Quinn still on long term IR. Hopefully, we'll see him by the end of the month. Tonight's odds per DraftKings, play responsibly. Buffalo is getting a goal and a half. I think that is. Um, if they turn in a performance like they did on Saturday night, that I'd still take New York. The over under 6.5 again. If they turn in a performance like they did against New Jersey, take the over on that one. But I'm not giving you that advice. Just saying that the way that they played on Saturday night does not give me a lot of hope for tonight. All right, player profile for tonight is Isaac Roseanne. If you're Swedish, you see that E with the little tip on the top of it there. Um, that E is pronounced Aya, so Roseanne. And yeah, so Isaac Roseanne is a first round draft pick of the Buffalo Sabres. Surprise, surprise. Uh, 14th overall in the 2021 NHL draft. Came out of the Leksands Ice Hockey Federation team in Sweden. Played years, 2019, 2020. He was one of the youngest players in the league. Got a game with the senior team in the Swedish Hockey League. The But did play quite a bit in the junior under 20 team. Um, as he went along, he got more and more games in the Swedish Hockey League. Didn't score a ton, um, but he did play really well in international competitions, the under 18s, the World Junior Championships, and got uh, got picked up. I mean, to play in the Swedish Hockey League, to me, I think the Swedish Hockey League is on a par with the American Hockey League. Um, uh, Plus, they played on the international ice, so I mean, it's a bigger ice surface. Um, He came over to North America last season to play for Rochester. Had a slow start to the season, a little bit of injury issue, and then came back and played really well down the stretch. 14 goals, 23 assists for 37 points, and then added another 8 points in the playoffs. Um, and then I think I have the stats this season. He had 8 goals and 11 assists for 19 points and a +6 for the Americans, including the overtime winner in the last game before he was called up. 1.19 points per game. Uh, I'm not going to judge him based off of the debacle in New Jersey, but yeah, I'm excited for a guy like Isak Roseanne. He's developed really nicely over the last year and a half in North America, and hopefully he starts getting comfortable in his game. I don't know how long they're going to stay up here because I know that we get Greenway back probably after tonight's game. He'll probably join the team in St. Louis. Um, and then later in the month we're going to start getting guys like Thompson and Quinn back. So their shelf life with the Sabres may not last long, but hopefully this taste gives them a little bit more to strive for. Helps elevate their game a little bit. Both he and Uri Kulik. Um, or hopefully the it clicks for them and they really start producing in the NHL level. That'd be the best of all scenarios, and then that makes Kevin Adams do some work and fix some things on this team and move some players out. All right, the keys to tonight's game: show up. For God's sakes, let's not have another repeat of Saturday. So learn from Saturday. Don't uh, don't let this team skate you into the board. So that the game that you played against New Jersey is probably going to be the same game that you play against the New York Rangers. They're going to be a heavy, aggressive forecheck team. They're going to try and draw penalties to get that power play on the ice. And if you play into that, you're going to die a very quick, very painful death. So keeping it 5-on-5 may actually be the thing here. Again, they have a really deadly penalty kill. Chris Kreider, Zibanejad, all those guys on the penalty kill are aggressive and while the Sabres are doing better, in fact, the only 2 game goals they got on Saturday night were on the power play. Um, I know that the Sabres have had trouble with aggressive penalty kills. So yeah, keep this game 5-on-5 and see if we can not only hang with them, but maybe even pick up a nice victory because they sure as hell need it right now. They're struggling. Other teams are making their moves. I mean, let's not panic too hard. I mean, I'm gonna panic at this point because we're now a quarter of the way into the season, and this team has shown us nothing but inconsistency this entire season. But when you look at the grand picture of everything right now, they're only 3 points out of a playoff spot, 3 points behind the Toronto Maple Leafs, who, another stat of the night, I guess, I saw this reported several times. The Toronto Maple Leafs have more regulation losses than they do regulation wins. They're 10-6-3 on the season, but only 5 regulation wins, 6 regulation losses, and then 3 overtime losses as well. So they're picking up points, but man, they're on the struggle bus too. They lost 2 in a row. But the Buffalo Sabres need to find something. They need to find that next level now, and get some consistency into their game and not consistently bad, but some actual consistency in their game. Um, on this date in oops, that's the farm report. On this date, November 27th, 2005, the population of Pominville became 1 as he got his first goal against Olaf Kolzig in a 3-2 victory over the Washington Capitals. Um, I love Jason Pominville. He was always kind of one of those consistent guys for the team. Like you always knew what you got with Jason Pominville. Um, you know, people were mad back then that Jason Pominville didn't go after Milan Lucic or any of those other players. Pominville's not a fighter. Yeah, you would like guys to step up, but the proper guys to step up, the guys that actually can make Milan Lucic, the wife abuser, pay for his crimes. Yeah, I was a big fan of Jason Palmerville. I loved, him and Fanek and all those guys. Miss that team. Alright. On the farm in Rochester, our Amarks are 10-5-2. They are I'm sorry, I think they've fallen to 3rd in the AHL North now. Almost a 3rd period lead to the Lehigh Valley, Phantoms, losing 5-4 in regulation. They played Belleville on Friday, so, next time we convene on Thursday night for the St. Louis game, there won't be an update for this one. I'm not surprised that they lost that game. You lose your 2 leading offensive guys, still get 4 goals, that's great. Giving up a 3rd period lead is tough, and, hopefully they'll get used to playing without Roseanne and Kulik because they're doing so well up here. On the farm, the Jacksonville Icemen have turned around a little bit. They've won 2 in a row, 7-6-2 on the season, up to 4th in the Eastern Conference South Division of the ECHL. They beat the Savannah Ghost Pirates, the Vegas Golden Knights, ECHL farm team, 4-1 on Saturday, and take on Orlando, the Tampa Bay affiliate in the ECHL on Wednesday. We'll have a report for that game on Thursday. Um, Looking ahead, Thursday night, St. Louis, that is going to be we'll talk about that in a moment. But then we got Saturday at Carolina, and then Sunday, back home again to take on the Nashville Predators. So that is the look ahead at the schedule. Our next episode is going to be Thursday night at 7 p.m. when we take on the St. Louis Blues. Games at 8 p.m. in as it is a Central Time game. So join us for that game. I really appreciate everyone watching. I see a few people on Facebook and on Twitch. I've seen people on YouTube as well tonight. I really appreciate you watching. If you will, please give us a like, a share. If you have the option, subscribe. I don't charge anything for subscriptions. It shouldn't cost you anything. It just helps get us in front of more people. But I really appreciate you showing up tonight. And next time, if you want to, please feel free to drop a comment. I'll be happy to discuss those in the during the show. Um, so Sabres game night, Marty and Duffer MS3 starts in a little over a minute. So go check that out. And game night on WGR is going on with Hamilton and Koziel. That's been going on since 6 o'clock. So go check them out if you're more inclined for the radio. But that's it for us. Have a great night, everybody. Let's go, Buffalo. Miracle of miracles. Let's pull out a victory tonight.